What is going on, everybody? So I'm back today not to talk about a movie, but to talk about subject matter that I think is really important when it comes to film criticism or just art criticism as a whole. And part of it is in response to a comment that I received recently, but part of it is also in response to some comments that I've read recently in regards to some art that has been put out. And I just think it's really important to talk about these things because I feel like the shift in our cultural landscape and the way people approach criticism of anything anymore, that a lot of the thought has been stripped out of it. And there's a lot of anger and rage when people disagree with you on something. And I think that that sort of defeats the purpose of criticism as a whole. And I think what's interesting about art is no matter what you're consuming, nothing is inherently perfect completely because in order for something to be perfect, every single person would have to perceive that thing as perfect, and that's not how everyone is going to perceive art. And I thought I received this comment a while ago on this specific video where I was talking about a film that had incredibly heavy subject matter, where it was discussing sexual assault, and the person was upset that I didn't enjoy the movie because these people were making this film based on an incredibly personal experience and some things that had happened to them, and they mentioned that they wanted me to listen to a couple of podcasts and watch some interviews with them. And as I said in that particular review, I think films like that are incredibly important. And I think that, providing films that people can relate to when it comes to horrible experiences like that is important so other people can share in those experiences, learn, grow together, and move past these awful things that they've had happen. That didn't change the fact that the movie was terrible. Like critiquing the actual elements of the filmmaking and the performance and all of those different things. And similarly, there's an artist that I really love working right now. Chapel Roan, who a lot of you are probably familiar with, and her new song came out recently. And I saw some creators online that were not a fan of the new song, and they would go into detail of like they just didn't enjoy the production, they didn't like the way that it sounded, they didn't think her vocals were mixed as well as some of the previous tracks. And I saw some people online saying you can't critique that because you're not a lesbian, you've never experienced what a lesbian is going through, so you can't have any negative opinions when it comes to that art. And what I'm going to say about both of those situations is that perspective is wrong and it's incredibly silly. If every piece of art that you consume in your day to day life has to be personally related to your own lived experience, you would probably be limited to very minimal art. There's probably not a lot out there that directly aligns with you personally to watch. And I hate this about talking about this subject matter because I understand there's so much in this world that is incredibly important to people when it comes to, subject matter, when it comes to, the LGBTQ community, or like I said, sexual assault, any sort of issues that are like really heavy for people. But the sheer fact of the matter is art is for everyone. The moment that you put something into the world, you've left it there for audiences to be able to consume. And so no matter whether you've been through that lived experience previously or not, you are going to take something away from that. For instance, I'll give a couple of examples. Last year, my favorite movie of the year last year, well, tied for first, was Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow, which is a film about the experience of transgender individuals. I was so profoundly impacted by the movie and moved to tears so many times. I'm not a trans person. I will never know what it means to be a trans person or how to process a lot of the information that they have to go through, or dealing with separation from family members, the scrutiny during transition, all of these things that you have to experience. I will never understand. I can't. I don't know what that's like, but I can empathize and feel for the experience of not feeling comfortable in your own skin and not feeling like you are living to the truest form of yourself. myself. That is something that I can understand. And that art was deeply, profoundly impactful to my own personal life. I can't say that I've lived that experience, but it means the world to me that that art exists for people that are living that experience and to hopefully educate others that don't understand what that experience is like and can feel it through the eyes of another person. And I can go even wider with something like with several years ago now at this point, with a film like 12 Years a Slave. I will never know what it's like to be a black person in America. I will never know what it is like to have lived through slavery as a black person in America. But my God, I can watch that movie and feel just how horrible that had to have been to live through those experiences, to watch a person who had a family, who had aspirations and ideals for their life and things that they wanted with the world, and to have that completely and totally stripped from them solely because of the color of their skin. I can relate to, you know, feeling hopeless and feeling, distraught and can't ever feel the experiences that they've experienced to that full extent. But solely because I haven't had that lived experience doesn't mean that I can't understand and perceive the art. And I think that that's what's so disheartening about a lot of modern day criticism is that just because you haven't lived through something doesn't mean you can't empathize or understand or process the art. And then even when you strip away the subject matter, that doesn't take away from visual style, performance, any of those elements that create the technical side. And as someone who went to school for a degree in film production, who understands the medium and how it is created to its like most minute detail, I'm gonna criticize and critique and pick apart those elements, even if it's a subject matter that means a lot to me. I've been through a ton of religious trauma in my life. I'm a member of the queer community. There are a lot of elements of my experience that have affected me that people have made movies and music and art about that unfortunately I just haven't liked. And that happens sometimes. You can have art about your own lived experience that doesn't work for you either. It's not just a one way type of thing. And I really wish that this was something that more people would think about in a critical light, because I feel like there's so many people that they come at this thing where they're like, I'm passionate about something, or I feel a specific way about a certain thing. And that because of that, if you don't like this thing that is about that thing, then it's you can't say anything because it's not made for you, or you just don't understand it, or you need to think about it more, you need to research it more. And I don't necessarily think that any of those things are particularly true. I think that art is going to impact you the way that it impacts you. If I had to tell you the amount of times in my life that someone has completely and totally destroyed, picked apart, and acted like the art that is my favorite on this planet is the worst thing that they've ever experienced, I couldn't give you the amount of times the people in this world have torn down art that I absolutely love. And you know what I do in those situations? I move on. I mean, that's what happens. If somebody doesn't like something that you like, you can move on. There's no point in dwelling on it. The reason why film criticism exists, the reason why I make these videos isn't to sway your opinion on something. I hope that when you watch one of my reviews, you don't go into it saying, man, I really hope Nate formulates my opinion on something. The reason I make this material is to get you to think critically about things in the movie that you might not have thought about, or to just give you perspective as to what I like and didn't like. And what's really cool for me on the inverse is reading you guys' comments and possibly picking up on things that I hadn't got in a first watch. Like, if you like something a lot and I hate it, just because you comment down below and say, man, you're really dumb, you didn't like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to change my mind. Like, that's not always going to happen. Now, on multiple rewatches or seeing something multiple times, my opinion could shift and change, but that's all going to be about my perception to it. It's not necessarily going to be somebody just egging me on about something. And I just think that that's really interesting. Like, the way people perceive how someone else consumes a property. And it's fascinating to me. And I think the state of film criticism is really unique right now. And I see a lot of popular creators online get dragged for the same things where it's like they don't like something. And so solely because of that, people will say, well, you don't understand it because it's not a part of your life, or you don't understand it because of this, that, and the other. And I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I think a lot of times it's just, did it work for the person or not? And I just wanted to get on and discuss that a little bit today because it's something that's been weighing on me, seeing it a little bit more in the media recently when it comes to people critiquing art. And like I say all the time, I'm curious as to what you guys' opinion are on this as well. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you feel about like film criticism as a whole and when it comes to personal experience and how that impacts you. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material. Look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.